well, good evening. My name is Peter O'Brien. I'm County Commissioner for District 4, and right here in the IG Center is the heart of District 4, so we're right here in the middle of my district. If you haven't been to the IG Center before, I think before you leave, you should take a couple minutes to walk around and see everything. It's a beautiful facility. We run a lot of programming here for both kids and older folks and seniors. That's the intergenerational part. So please take a minute to look around. We've got a great rec staff here and people to help you. And it's really a gem for the community here. So please take a minute to look around. If you didn't see them, the bathrooms are right outside. If you go to the right, the bathrooms are right there if you need that. And before we get started, I would like to introduce a few folks that are here. We have a couple of the county commissioners are here. We have the Vice Chairman, Joe Urban, is sitting right over there. We have County Commissioner Joe Fletcher and his lovely wife Rosemary is there. And we also have Commissioner Laura Moss over back in that corner. And we have our former Sheriff, Darrell Lord, is here as well. So thank you all for attending. So I'm going to start with going over the ground rules for the candidates. And regardless of any rumors you may have heard or any stories on the internet or anybody proclaiming otherwise, no one has gotten a copy of the questions prior to tonight, okay? As a matter of fact, I didn't even write them up until Saturday evening in my home, so they're not on a county computer. No one has them. The only other person to see them is my wife, Susan. So you all will be hearing the questions for the first time tonight. I will rotate the questions, so we're going to try to rotate by district so people can be focused on your individual districts, but we'll start, Ms. Corbin will answer the first question, and then Ms. Gibbs will start answering the second question, and Mr. Post will rotate that way. Same over here with District 4 with Ms. Berenberg, and Mr. Kenny will rotate there so that way everybody has a chance to go first, last, things like that. Regardless of where we are in that sequencing of the order, Ms. Corbin will go first with the opening statement, and Ms. Rosario will go fourth in the opening statement, and then we come to the closing statement. Ms. Rosario, you will go first, and Ms. Corbin will go last. Okay, we'll reverse that, and then same with you two. We'll just flip-flop, easy enough there. When you're speaking, you are free to do whatever you'd like. If you want to stand up, that's fine. If you want to walk around, that's fine too. You can remain seated, whatever you're most comfortable doing. So you have that choice. A little bit limitation with this table because you do have the wire, but I think we have enough room for you all to get out and get in front of the tables. You will be timed, and before each question, I will let you know how much time for that question. My wife, Susan, is your timekeeper. When there's 30 seconds left, she will hold up the yellow card. The yellow? Okay. And then when your time is up, she will show you the red card. And the red card means stop. Okay? So the red card means not to begin your wrap up. The red card means stop. And then if you keep going on, I will stop you for you. Well, a sentence, but don't get all running away. I would ask and recommend that you focus on yourself. This is your opportunity to tell the audience what your qualifications are, what you believe in, and what you would do should they vote you to be a school district member. So I would ask that you focus on your capabilities and qualifications. And from the candidates, are there any questions on how the format will go? No? Okay. For the audience, I have rules for you all too. So one thing is, just like the county commission race, the school district races are county-wide voting. Okay, that means that no matter where you live in the county, no matter what district you're in, you're going to be voting for one of the candidates here from District 2, and you'll be voting for one of the candidates here from District 4. Okay, so it's important that you pay attention to both sets of candidates because you'll be voting for both district races. Okay? Now, the school district, because they're nonpartisan, their rules are a little bit different on the primary level. In order to win a seat on the school district, the winning candidate has to have 50% of the vote plus one. Okay? Now, in District 4, that's going to be pretty easy. There's only two candidates. One of them is going to get 50%, and this will be settled at the primary. However, in District 2, with 4 candidates, it's very likely that there may be a runoff where the top 2 voters will go to the general election in November, because with a lot of candidates, it's hard for one candidate to get more than 50%. So your homework tonight is, with District 2, you might need to come up with a first choice, a second choice, and a third choice, depending on if there's a runoff or not. Because your first choice candidate may not make the runoff, so then you have to know who to vote for come the general election in November. Okay? And then secondly, this is part of my normal monthly community meeting here in South County, and I do this for my local constituents so they can come hear what I tell them about what the county is doing. If they have questions, I can answer them. And this is an information sharing type community forum. That's how I want tonight to be. I want you all to be here to listen to what the candidates have to say. It's important that you do pay attention, because these are very important seats and very important for the future of the school district. So I hope everybody will be attentive. I am asking you to refrain from any type of vocal or any type of demonstrative outburst. We don't want to have any booing or jeering or cheering or shouting things out. I'm really asking you all to be attentive, to be polite, civil, and most of all quiet, so that we can get through this in a very organized manner and let the candidates speak and hear their voice and not the audience. So I hope everyone will understand and honor my request. So from the audience, is there any questions?
Will there be a question and answer after?
Not from the audience, no. I'm sure the candidates will be glad to stick around and talk to you individually if there was something that we didn't cover during the forum, but there won't be any questions from the audience. Okay, so we will go ahead and begin. We are going to start with 3 minutes. Candidates, you have 3 minutes for your opening remarks. This will be your chance for an introduction. And please try to include what inspired you to run for the school board. And we will begin with Ms. Corbin. When you're ready to start, Susan will start her 3 minutes, okay?
All right, here we go.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for coming. My name is LaDonna Corbin. I was raised in Indian River County, born and raised in Indian River County. I was born and raised in Indian River County, and I received my bachelor's degree in social science from Mercer University with a concentration in mental health. I also earned my master's degree in policy, health, law, and ethics from Strayer University. I am a wife and a working mother of 8 children. I currently have 3 children in the Indian River County school system. I am an active member within the community, and I also have everyday knowledge of challenges and concerns within Indian River County. What inspired me to run was to continue to keep Indian River County School Board District a student-first district. Also to ensure that we're meeting the highest expectations for the improvement of the quality of life and education for all children, to increase mental health awareness, strengths, supports, and also to advocate and promote parental consent, correct parental rights, and parental accountability. Thank you.
Same question, right?
Yeah,
I feel,
introduction.
thanks. Hi, I feel weird sitting down, so hi. I'm Cindy Gibbs, also running for Indian River County School District 2. I will do education. I have a degree in English and I have a Master of Education. I taught in this district for 16 years. I taught elementary school, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and a majority of the time I had what's called an inclusion classroom, where I shared responsibility with the special education teacher to make sure that students with special needs and what we call, the regular kids, all together in one classroom. That's when we were the most successful. And I always advocate for the inclusion classroom. It helps everyone, adults included. I'm not in the school system anymore. However, I am still an educator. I work for a private company out of Dallas. I work virtually. I was very blessed to get that job in 2018 in the before times, so that when COVID hit and we had to close our schools and be more careful about the health of our children and our teachers and our administrators, I was already home with my kids. They already knew how to use their laptops and all that kind of thing, so we were very lucky. I'm a professional development coach now. I work with adult learners. I teach people how to be a successful independent contractor, how to build a business. It's customer service, and so is education, because we have to make sure that we're collaborating with a large group of people, the whole community, parents, our colleagues, our principal, and my role as a school board member is going to make sure that all of that is a smoothly working machine, so that the communication is wide open, so that teachers feel comfortable going to a leader and saying, this isn't working for me, what can we do together? And that parents can feel that same open door policy at our schools. Thanks.
Hi, good evening. My name is Josh Post. I'm also running for School Board District 2 for Indian River County. A little bit about myself. I'm married. I have 4 children, all graduates of Indian River County High Schools, 3 from Vero Beach, 1 special needs son who went to Sebastian River High School. I think the biggest thing when Peter asked, what got you to run for this position? I can tell you that I could not sit by any longer and watch what was happening in the public schools any longer. I taught in this district for 6.5 years. I didn't leave by choice. I left because financially I had to. My wife and I decided, we prayerfully considered leaving her to leave her job to watch our grandson. And in order to do that, financially I had to find a different job. And the Lord opened up an opportunity for me to actually go back. My company, which I work for State Farm, my company actually contacted me and said, hey, the person who replaced you is retiring, and would you like your job back? And that was, for me, the sign for my wife to be able to stay at home with our grandson, who's now 4. And he is the reason that I'm up here. He's going to be in this school district. And it's scary. When's the last time you've been to a school? You personally have been to a school during the day and seen what is occurring between class, in class, after class. Volunteerism. This is a great community. This is why I'm here. My grandson, this community. I have no desire to leave, move, but I can tell you, if you don't have a strong school system, the community will suffer. During the pandemic, how many signs did you see? Help wanted. They were all over the place. Do we have students that are leaving our public education and have the skills to work in our community? A couple things that I think we have to really understand is that when we see the school reports, we have a 60%, we went up to 60% on ELA or 58% in math or whatever the case may be. I just need to ask you this question. Is that good enough? Is 60% of our kids on grade level? Is that good enough? Not to me. Not when I taught. Feel free to pull the records of my students, how they scored on tests. It is imperative that you understand a lot of things that the narrative of the district is controlling, such as a level 3 on the algebra end of course exam, which is proficient by the state. You can get a 52% in pass.
Hi everyone, my name is Jackie Rosario. I am a woman of faith, I am a mom, and I am an educator. I am proud to stand here before you as your current school board member for District 2. So thank you to all of you who voted me in 2018. I am rerunning for my position because there have been quite a few difficulties and challenges that we have faced as a district within the last few years, of which kind of put a halt in some of the work that we were doing. Obviously, COVID was one of those things. a year and a half of COVID shutdowns or limitations to the educational process really didn't allow us to push forward with our strategic plan and some of the initiatives that we initially intended would happen. And now we are facing a new year, opening up the school year, this coming year, with no limitations, no mask mandates, no shutdowns. So it's important that for the purpose of continuity, that the same school board member that was elected in 2018 be reelected now, so that I can continue the work that I promised you all as my constituents. I will also tell you that I am a mom of a very recent 14-year-old. He was 13 before July 4th, and I used to joke about his age before that, but he is a July 4th baby, so he is a new 14-year-old going on 41. For those of you who have teenagers, you know what that's like. And I do homeschool him. So 8 years ago, I was given the opportunity. I was always a teacher and a school administrator in the public school system. But then 8 years ago, I was given the opportunity to homeschool, and I prayerfully considered that. After quite a bit of time, those of you who know how to make decisions for your children, you know that the decision to homeschool for me was definitely not easy. But it was one that I am very, very proud that we made. We've been homeschooling him now for 8 years. He is entering into 9th grade. And that's going to be exciting next year. But I homeschooled for a reason, right? So when he was in 1st grade, there were some concerns that I saw when he was in the public school system here in Indian River County, and I wasn't happy with it. And as an administrator, I was able to kind of see some of the, I would say, the weak areas. And so for me, it was important for us to be able to make that decision. It was the best decision for us. But not everyone has that decision. Not everyone has the opportunity to homeschool. So I am a 100% proponent of school choice, which is why I am behind parental rights and having parents empower parents to know what their rights are and how they can really own the reins of your child's education. Thank you very much.
So now we're going to segue to the District 4 candidates, and Ms. Berenberg will lead off.
Hi, I'm Terry Berenborg. Hi. Yeah, you got it? Okay. Is it on? Can you hear me? Speak closer. Okay, got it. Starting my not that I'll go. I'm Terry Berenborg. I have lived here for 3.5 decades.
Can you hear it?
No.
Give me your mic, man.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's try this again.
Yep, that time. Okay, next.
Thank you. My name is Terry Berenborg. I've lived here for 3.5 decades. I have 38 years in education as a teacher, as a assistant principal, as a principal. I've written curriculum at the district level. I've written several multi-million-dollar grants. Well, one multi-million-dollar, one a little bit less. I have co-authored 8 books in STEM. I have 3 children that have gone through our schools. They all went to Dodgertown, to Gifford, and to Vero Beach High School. All graduated, left our community, and all have returned. My youngest is a public defender here in Indian River County. My middle child is in digital media, and my oldest is a professional golfer on the LPGA. However, she is not touring this year because we have a granddaughter due right around Election Day, and so she's providing us with that. I do have a grandson that will be coming into the schools very soon, and I got involved because a couple years ago when I was working in St. Lucie, I had friends that were still working in the district here, and I had parents that I knew in the district, and I heard that our schools were not where they needed to be. They still aren't. We still need to grow. We still need to improve. And the concern I saw was that the complacency was here, and this community should be one of the top 5 in the state. And that's our mission, that's our goal as a school board, is to get there. And we made quite a few gains, but we're not where we need to be. I have degrees in a Bachelor of Science in Physical Education, a minor in Health Education. concentration in elementary ed, concentration in middle school sciences, and a master's degree in educational leadership. With those, I understand I have a lot of education background, but I also took classes in finance and law. And I think that's important because I really study our budget, which is coming up now, and all the laws and the statutes, because I am the legislative liaison for the district, so I do spend time in Tallahassee making sure that we get advocates here for in River County. I do meet with our representatives as well. I think that this is my community that I've been in so long, and I truly care about it. I care about kids. I've worked with kids all my life. I volunteered for numerous organizations in this town. I've been a big sister for years. I was a coach for 10 years for Vero Beach High School golf. And I was a Girl Scout leader for 8 years, so in Cub Scouts. I love this community, and that's why I'm fighting to keep my seat, and please re-elect me. And I'm also the school board chair at this time, so thank you.
Hi, I'm Thomas Kennedy, and I'm running for, get away from that speaker. I'm running for school board and district board. And thank you all for coming today. This is truly an honor. A little bit about me. I grew up in Washington, D.C., received a degree in mass media, 2001, went on to do national broadcasting with the XM Satellite Radio, helped launch that company. In 2008, with the merger, I moved on and started my own media consulting firm. Worked in Washington, D.C. for many years doing that. In 2014, came down here to do a media thing with an organization. We built an online broadcast system. Also done a lot of events and different things like that as a media professional. Fast forward to 2020, COVID hits. I'm doing events, corporate, everywhere. My whole business gets wiped out in 24 hours because there's no more events. There's no more anything. So I had to pivot. And I took some of that PPE money and started a firm, my own self-employment, doing financial services, and I'm currently licensed in 4 states. That's me as a professional. During this time, I've also been working with a lot of people in the community, going to school board meetings, involved locally. And as things were happening, I had a lot of parents, a lot of mothers, fathers come to me and say, why don't you run for the school board? And I said, well, I don't really know if I want to do that. But I told myself I would never do anything governmentally unless I was invited. And so I really prayerfully and contemplatively thought about that. And then I decided to accept the invitation. And that's why I'm running today. I'm a staunch believer in parental rights. Parental rights is the most important aspect of governance in the state of Florida. It is such an opportunity for our school system. Because the school system can focus its mission on teaching again. Because the parent has a right to every aspect that their child goes through in a school system. It'll reestablish that parent-teacher-student relationship. And that's what I'm about. I don't have a 10-point plan to improve. I just have a 10-point plan to restore the beauty of education. And that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Just hang on to that because we'll start with you on the next question. Can everybody hear me okay without the microphone?
Yes.
Shut up. Okay, the following 3 questions are 1-minute answers. 1 minute. Make sure my timekeeper is updated. On a scale of 1 being low and 10 being high, how would you rate teacher morale and what would you do to improve it?
Somewhere between 5, 7, around there. I've talked to a lot of teachers in this county, just being out at events and different things like that, and they're more concerned about the discipline and what is to be done in the school, because there's just a lot of things where the respect for a teacher is lost. I think if we get the honor and respect of students, we teach them on an individual basis, these things, that you can't cuss out a teacher and then expect to walk back into a classroom. If we do that, teacher morale will improve. Because their vocation, it's a vocation at their heart and core. They're passionate, and they want to have an environment where they can do that.
Having been a teacher, the answer when I first ran was probably a 2. And it depends on the campus. Some campuses, you see high morale, you see people very excited about where they are and what they're doing every day. But then you walk on other campuses and you don't see the same. I'd say now it's probably a 5 or 6. It's not where it needs to be yet. Teachers are still frustrated about certain things. It depends again on your administration. Having been an administrator, I know you got to support teachers. And I think that as a community, we need to support our teachers. We need to stop tearing them down, and we need to start building them up. And teachers care about our kids tremendously. We need to care about them in order to be able to improve our schools.
And Ms. Gibbs, you'll answer this one first.
Mixing it up. Having been a teacher who never decided to become an administrator because I really liked being in the classroom just with children and continuing to develop them each year, I can tell you what I've heard from my friends, my former coworkers. It's probably about a 4 or a 5 right now. And the things that I hear from teachers now are, please allow me the professionalism to do my job. Please don't micromanage me. Please trust that my education and my years of practice are going to help me to support our students the best that I possibly can. So please treat me like a professional.
I think teacher morale has more to do with the culture overall of the school district in itself. And I would say from the numerous amounts of teachers that I know that have approached me, that I've approached, it's probably more like a 3 or a 4. And here's a couple things that you can look at to recognize that the teacher morale is low and the issues in the district are large. Discipline, number 1. Biggest thing that I hear teachers say. I can't discipline the students. They don't allow me to discipline the students. In fact, when I try to discipline the students, it goes to the district office and they have to approve the discipline for the suspension or whatever the case may be. Until the fight at the Flick, the 6 people, huge fight. Folks, we have a problem. Big time problem. We can't find substitute teachers. That should tell you what's going on in the school district right now. Can't find substitute teachers. There have been numerous teachers that got sick, whatever the case may be, couldn't finish the year out. That happened in October, couldn't find a full-time teacher for the rest of the year. That's not good for our students.
I would say also depending on the school and depending on the environment in which the teacher is in, it's probably an average across the district, maybe about a 5. Likewise, some of the candidates have said discipline is a big issue in our school district, and supporting teachers within the classroom with discipline is definitely a priority in order to make education or classroom instruction quality, high quality instruction, so they're not distracted, so they don't have to worry about some of the misbehaviors that are happening in the classroom. The other thing that I'd like to throw out there is teacher salary. We have a big discrepancy between the teachers that are new teachers with their first paying salary coming in and those who are more senior teachers. So we need to really address the gap there so that teachers feel valued and respected in the work that they are providing because they just love teaching and that's what their career, that's what their lifelong dream has been, many of them. And so we need to support teachers in those 2 areas.
So, I'm afforded the opportunity to work at the first community partnership school in Indian River County at Doddington Elementary. And I have to tell you that the morale at that school or that area is awesome. Even though the teachers know that they're not getting the pay that they deserve, they have a high morale because they have a passion to do what they're doing for the children in that community. So I would say the morale at the school that I am in was probably about a 6. Can it be better? Yes, it can be better. We have to develop and find ways to keep our valued employees within our district. How do we develop those ways to keep our employees from leaving us and going to other districts? So we can find ways to keep them here. And also, I hear about discipline. I hear the mostly from my teachers is how do we get parents back interested in being in the education of their children? They want the parent connection and the parent support. Thank you.
Next question is still 1 minute. We'll start with Mr. Post. You can pass the microphone. Are Indian River County schools safe from mass shooters? And if not, what needs to be changed?
Well, when I was a teacher, we had drills that we did, scarily enough, for these situations. I would say that any plan, if something happens, you would hope that the plan works, right? Obviously, in certain situations, in Texas, in other places, Sandy Hook, etc., their plans didn't work. I think we always have to evaluate these type of scenarios. I can't, from an outside perspective, tell you from my own eyes, since I haven't been in the school district in 3 years, to tell you, yes, we have a foolproof plan. I did speak with Dr. Moore about this. They've done many different changes to alleviate some of the concerns about propped doors being open so that people could get into the schools that are not supposed to be in there, things of that nature, a single point of egress, entry and access and leaving. So I think those are all parts of what we have to evaluate, and as a school board member, I will for sure make sure that my eyes are on that, because I got a little 4-year-old grandson that's here today that's going to be in the public school system pretty soon.
Thank you. I would say yes, our schools are safe. Here in Indian River County, we have already established a great working relationship with our law enforcement. We have established already within our schools, school resource deputies that are on every campus. We've also established that every school will have a single point of entry, and some of them actually have 2 double doors entry where you have to buzz and they have to kind of vet who's there, and then you have to buzz again and sign in. And so it is not very easy to get on campus. Is it 100% foolproof? No, because we do hear of some of the gates being propped open or some of the doors. We have to work on those issues. And we know that those are some issues. Something that has been brought up recently was a buzzer, where if the gate is left open, it kind of rings like an alarm so that we understand, or the people who are on the campus know that something has been left open. But our schools are safe. I have every trust in our law enforcement. I know that our teachers practice our code red and code yellow drills, so we don't have to worry, hopefully, that nothing will happen on our campuses.
Back to Ms. Corcoran. Yes, Ms. Corcoran.
So now that we know from one of our school board members that our schools are safe, the things that we would now put in place is to continue those collaborative relationships with law enforcement and also with our student resource officers. Also, to develop and continue to practice prepared readiness drills. It's important that we practice those drills with our teachers and also our students, and also promote, if you see something, say something. That is very important. Every day I have my children leave out and I tell them, if you see something, say something. Thank you.
Yes.
So yeah, having been a classroom teacher and having 2 children, a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old in our schools, Storm Grove and Sebastian River High School, we've been through the active shooter drills. We've had those conversations. I absolutely feel that our schools are as safe as they could possibly be right now. I've had the conversation with Mr. Teskey, Emergency Services, who assures me, as you already heard, that local law enforcement and our school administrators, we have all of that working out as safely as we possibly can. We've had fences for years, started that back in 2012, and we've had single point entry pretty recently. So what I would say then is we have to make sure that we're continuing to have the entire community have eyes on our schools and our students, and making sure that we're aware of what's going on in our community, and not just teachers and school administrators having that conversation, but local community leaders as well.
And we'll begin with Ms. Berenborg. I'm keeping track for everybody, so hopefully I won't get lost.
My first concern as a board member should be academics, but it's safety. It's the one thing I talked about with the superintendent constantly. Other than all the other things you've heard that we put in place, there are things I can't talk about that we put in place. Things that I assure you will not happen in this community, that we will have officers standing outside waiting. We will have officers going in, and that was evident at the Flick. I was there at the Flick right after it happened, because I was walking to campus right next door, and I went over to the Flick and saw 40 cars, and they were there immediately. So I rest assured our SROs work with us. We have Fortify Florida, which is an app that See Something, Say Something is all about, and we have Focus, which our parents get automatic notifications if something's happening. It goes right to their phone. So we've hardened schools, we do all that, but we still have to talk to everybody about not propping doors. Ironically, I wrote an end of the year message to all of our employees about propping doors, and Uvalde happened right after that, and it was about a prop door. So unfortunately, we still have to get that done. Thank you.
We've heard a lot from school board members about the strength of our safety system in the school system. And that's really good. You know, this state has experienced Parkland. So there's just an understanding. And with what happened at the Flick, like Ms. Berenborg said, the police were there immediately. And me, just as a casual observer at that point, I was like, wow, never seen something like that before. So it was a lot of confidence. My thing is discipline with kids. There have been some kids who've carried a firearm on campus. But to be concerned about these things and what's happening internally inside each school, the bullying and stuff like that, because that's the next level of safety that also needs to be addressed.
Just hang on to that, we'll go with you next. Is the school district doing enough to hire qualified minority teachers and administrators? If not, how would you improve it?
Is it still 1 minute?
Yes, still 1 minute. Sorry.
I believe the school district is. The school district goes to HBCUs and recruits. I mean, we're under a unity, the order, the desegregation order, so there's a lot of requirements in there that are already fulfilling these things. It was hammered out between the NAACP and the school board in 2018. It's been adjusted a little bit along the way. And so these things are happening. And so I would say yes.
Thank you. That's a question I ask almost every other day to the superintendent. Where are we with hiring? Because we want the best and the brightest, and we want to keep them here. That's the hard part, because it's hard to afford to stay here in Indian River County. But we're coming up with some very creative things to be able to keep people that are high quality. Today, we have 46 openings. Last year, this time, we had 110. So we're doing pretty well. The superintendent assured me today that we'll probably have them all filled in 2 weeks. So I'm going to hold them to that. I said, where are you getting them from? We're being very creative, and we're going out there beating the path for the best and the brightest. I know I'm doing my part to call all over different places where I know people are looking for a move. And please do your part to help us as well, to help retain people. That's the big part that we need. We need to be able to keep our teachers that are awesome to stay here. Thank you.
And Ms. Rosario, you will lead off on this side.
I think that we're doing okay. I think we could do better. We are actively recruiting teachers, highly qualified teachers, from across the state, and there has been a hiring shortage of sorts, and so our Human Resources Department has created a team of personnel who are actually going out of state as well. And we have, last year I believe it was an online recruiting fair. We had probably about 2 or 3 of those online. So it was it was highly effective. I think that we can do a little bit more with regard to actively engaging with local colleges and universities, bringing in student teachers who can serve in our community and actually remain within our community. We also have partnered with the Educational Foundation, of which the Educational Foundation is providing grants for teachers who are hired so that they can have a little bit of extra grant money to help them with the moving process coming here. So there are quite a few things that we are doing in the process, and even though we need to work a little bit better on that.
This will go down to Ms. Corbin.
So the question was, how do we attract more?
Or is the district doing enough to hire qualified minority teachers and administrators? And if not, how would you improve it?
We have a long way to go. We have a long way to go with being able to attract and have African American teachers, staff, to be interested in working in Indian River County. We have to develop unique programs to be able to attract those teachers, to attract those staff, to attract them to Indian River County, to show them that this is a place where they can have employment and be successful in Indian River County. I don't know if we're there yet. We're not there yet, but we have to find creative ways to get there to attract the African American community with teaching, staffing, and administrative positions within Indian River County. Thank you.
So the question was, are we doing enough to attract high-quality minority teachers and administration? So we have to look at the whole gamut of what minority is, because we want to make sure that our students feel reflected in the leadership of their schools. So just making sure that we're covering all of what a minority is. We definitely need to do work. As we're attracting people, I think even more importantly, we need them to stay here. And to piggyback on what we've heard from other people, teachers love children. So young teachers are going to want to have families, and families need to afford homes. So there's a lot of work to do in the whole community to make sure that that happens, but we definitely want our younger teachers coming in here and loving this place enough, wanting to work here enough, that they want their own children to attend these schools and feel successful here as well.
My son is a teacher in this district. He started his first year, he made more money than I did after 8.5 years of teaching. So obviously the monetary side, which was changed by the state a few years ago, where we could get that starting salary, Jackie alluded to it previously, about having a scenario of the money side of it for the older teachers. In regards to minority teachers, we've got to come up with a plan. We have 2 great institutions in our state, Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M. We've got to be able to market to those. It's a marketing, right? It's going after. If you're looking for minority candidates, you can't expect them to come to you. You have to go to them. And so I love the fact that what we're doing with these online scenarios, but we have to get involved and bring these people, show them they're wanted, that they're needed in our community. So it is important that we recognize the monetary side of it, or income, but then the housing is tremendous as well. You can't afford a house. We looked for a house 2 years ago. $250,000 was the lowest thing that we could find for him. That's crazy. On a teacher side, not possible.
Okay, the next question will be 2 minutes, and we'll start with Ms. Corbin. It's a little bit long, so pay attention. The school district had a committee of media specialists, district staff, and members of the local community review 156 library books for appropriate content. A small number of books were removed, and a slightly larger number were moved from middle school to high school. In addition, an opt-out form is created for parents who wish to prevent their children from checking out certain books. In your opinion, does the school district have an appropriate policy to, 1, ensure appropriate content, and 2, to allow for parental involvement? And again, we'll begin with Ms. Carter. You have 2 minutes.
Was long. So now from your seat back here, I've forgotten. But no, all books we should have all appropriate books within our school system. I do think that the system that the school board all have agreed to put in place for parents to exercise their right to have those children read those books or not. The books are in the library. They have not removed the books out of the library, but they have given parents the choice to opt out of having their children read those books within the library system. Thank you.
I think the process that we went through this year is appropriate. I know not everybody's going to be happy with that answer, but we have to make sure that our students' First Amendment rights are just as important as their parents. They are also citizens of the United States. We recognize that you're not going to make everybody happy, and I do think that the school district did a good job of offering that opt-out form. If you don't want your children reading a particular book in the library, have that personal conversation with your child. That's communication, that's parenting. My children are aware of what they can and can't take out of the library, and if they have questions about it, we have that open relationship where we can talk about that. I have 2 daughters. There's a lot they need to know as they're in their high school years and their middle school years. It's a lot different than when we were kids, especially with technology and so much media out there. We really need to make sure as parents that we are deepening that relationship with our children so that there's trust there. I think the books belong in the library. I think if there's a question about a particular book, we can have a process for that, but I don't think that we have a sweeping movement of things like that because it's a distraction. We need to talk more about student achievement than a couple of library books. We can have that side conversation, but it shouldn't be the overarching focus of our school system. We have too many other things to be concerned with.
I had concern with the overall how the media specialists were selected, who selected those people, why were they selected, what are their points of view, etc. So I think you have to kind of look at how that works with the local communities involved, etc. That would be something that I think we have to evaluate. I think there were about 156 books were reviewed, and parents get the option to opt out whether they want their child to read that book. Why don't we opt in, make them have to opt in if they want their child to read the book? Why would we want to have a ton of people, let's say you've got 80% of the people that say, I don't want my child to read this book, they have to opt out of the reading. Why wouldn't we just say, well, if you want your children to read this book, you opt in. Now, I'm going to be very candid with you. I don't think the books belong in the schools. If they're pornographic, if they have any type of things, they don't belong in the public education libraries. They can go to the public library all day long if they want their child to read that book. I've got no problem. How you raise your children is how you raise your children. But it shouldn't be involved in our school system. By the way, just being very honest, if your kid has one of these, they have access to everything imaginable within a click and an X out, and you don't have a clue that they were on there more than likely. So the reality is we can talk about this, and it is important, but we need to be looking at this thing right here, because this is one of the biggest distractions in the education in the classroom as well. So yes, I am absolutely for removing these pornographic, anything that could be misconstrued or looked at in a negative manner. But I have to tell you, this thing is really powerful.
Okay, so for those of you who know, I'm the only school board member who brought this up for a vote in November, on November 16th. This is an issue that is very, very serious to me. I think that it is absolutely inappropriate for sexual content or pornographic information of any kind to be in our school libraries. I'm going to read to you from our obscenity statute. It is a statute. It is law. obscenity statute says. A person may not knowingly sell, rent, or loan for monetary consideration to a minor any picture, photograph, drawing, sculpture, motion picture film, video cassette, similar visual representation or image of a person or portion of a human body which depicts nudity or sexual conduct, sexual excitement, sexual battery, bestiality, or sadomasochistic abuse in which is harmful to minors, or any book, pamphlet, magazine, printed matter, however reproduced, or sound recording that contains any matter defined in 847.001. 847.001 has 2 pages worth of definitions that express what exactly are obscene within the content of educational material that appears in our schools. And it's not just the library books. It pertains to all of our curriculum as well, whether curriculum that is adopted or by supplemental material. So I will tell you that there is absolutely no place in our schools for these books. We are not a public library system. We are a public education system that happens to have a library in it. And the number one client that we serve are children under the age of 18. There is no way, shape, or form, according to the law, that those books are appropriate. They are not age appropriate. They have absolutely no educational value, scientific value, or any other value for that matter for our children.
Please, you're doing really good. You're doing really good. Let this keep being good. Thank you. I think it's fair.
I got you. All right. So I wish I had about 10 minutes, maybe a half hour to answer this question, because this is not an easy question. And the reason why is because most districts across Florida had about 20 to 30 books that were brought to the district and said, you know, we think this is pornography. We had 156. I think it was 159. But I couldn't read 156 books that fast and everything else I had to read. But I did read 8. And out of those 8 I read, I questioned why they were of concern. Especially when somebody brought one to a district meeting and showed graphic pictures of people. And it horrified me. And I thought, why are we doing this? Well, this is the book. It has no pictures in it. This is the only copy we have in the district. The reason why I bring that up is because we have to make sure that we're looking at the version that we have in the school system. And the version we have in the school system is an education version. Not on all these books, believe me. But I believe these books all should be reviewed. Any book that anybody brings up should be re-reviewed. Because as we were going along with this, I was watching House Bill 1467 going through. And House Bill 67 is the K-12 education bill. And it talks about forming a committee. The committee that was formed for this, which was very quick, was mostly librarians. This committee that we need to form is going to be mostly parents and community members. And I believe that's who should be on this committee, to really look at the books that we have in our libraries, not the ones somebody saw in a film, because somebody told me about the TV version of this and it scared me. I don't think that we have every book that's appropriate in our libraries for every parent. I voted for parents to have choice over what their children were going to be able to have access to in our libraries at that time. I chose for parents to have choice for their own children, not for parents to choose for other children. And I think that's important, because if we're talking about parental rights, we're talking about the fact that we need to make sure that parents have the choice for their own children. But yes, we need to review the books, and we need to have this committee, and we are going to move forward, because the state's going to create a state standard, which is what needs to happen for grade level appropriateness. Thank you. I guess that I needed 10 minutes.
So, I'm one who doesn't believe the process was done right at all. One of the things that happened in this committee was that all the specialists got together and did what they did, and then there was a call out to parents, particularly one in this room, who invited a few of us. And we sat in and had a discussion with the media specialists. But as far as parents and different things like that being on the committee, no. And then we were told, well, there are parents who are working in the school system, the media specialists, who have kids in the school. Therefore, we've met the parent requirement. That's not good. That's a lack of transparency and making it up as you go along. And that's what happened here. There was a statute about the 847.012 of minorities. Well, let's look at curriculum statute, because in case you don't know, the school system can use up to 50% of its curriculum budget to buy extra materials, library books, videos, what have you, right? Supplemental stuff. 1006.4. Any materials purchased pursuant to this section, the curriculum section, free of pornography and material prohibited under 847.012, suited to the student's needs and their ability to comprehend the material presented, appropriate for the grade level and age group which the materials are used or made available. So it has to be free of pornography, then age appropriate. They only did this by age appropriate. This is sort of like a movie rating system. Really loose. I would revisit all of these and take them out of the shelves. Most likely, most of them will be coming back. And that's where I stand. It would be an honest, transparent thing. Thank you.
Okay, my favorite part coming up here is my one-word answer questions. So, candidates, you have one word to answer the question. That doesn't mean one sentence, one paragraph, one essay, one 10-minute window. It means one word. And I'm just going to start with Mr. Kenny, and I'm just going to run right down the table this way, and then run right back the next way. Okay? Nope, this is like a vote, okay? So this is just like a vote. It's either yay or nay. So here you go. As a county commissioner, the county board sets policy, and then it's up to the county administrator to carry out the policy that the board has set. So I would consider that to be a strong board-type setup. In school districts across Florida, the superintendents sometimes have broader powers, and it's almost more of a broad superintendent power level than the board level. So the question is, and again, this is a one-word answer, do you support a strong board or a strong superintendent policy?
Board.
Thank you. Ms. Barrenborg, board or superintendent?
Board.
Thank you. Ms. Rosario?
Board.
Board.
Board. Board.
Okay. We're going to remember all that 2 years from now, okay? David Corbin, coming back, on a scale of 1 low to 10 high, how would you rate the superintendent's performance over the 21-22 school year? So one number, 1 low, 10 high.
I'll be fair and say
One number.
7.
Thank you. The 21-22 school year.
8.
5.
5.
6.
5.
All right. So you all did pretty well. Thank you. All right. So according to my calculations, I need to go back over here and start with Ms. Gibb, I think. Okay. What is the greatest this is 2 minutes. I'm sorry. Thank you. What is the greatest single issue facing the school district, and how would you resolve it? The greatest single issue facing the school district, and how would you resolve it? You have 2 minutes.
I think with all the changes that our school systems and our communities have seen in the last couple of years, our greatest need right now is teacher support. The kids are going to come to school, and if the teachers are okay, the kids are going to be okay. I know that, of course, it's very important that our parents are involved, but teachers need development to know how to do that. Anybody who's been to school to study to be a teacher knows that they don't do a lot of classroom management teaching. You learn subject area, you learn content area, you learn things like that, but until you're in a room with children, reality doesn't hit. And so teachers need to have the time, the professional development time, to work with their peers, to collaborate, to be allowed to observe the really great ones, and to take the good things that they learn from them and bring them back to their classrooms. So I think our greatest need is making sure that our teachers have what they need so that our kids then have what they deserve in our classrooms.
I think the greatest issue in our schools is discipline and structure. Without discipline and structure, achievement will not happen. We have a significant issue in our school district. The lowest 10% of performers are getting all of the attention because of discipline issues a lot of times. That's why they're the lowest performers. They're not here. They don't have the parental support. It's all of the things that, in order for, I have this saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. And the reality is that if we can work within this group, we've got, I taught algebra honors, geometry honors for 7th and 8th grade. I taught pre-algebra and algebra for 7th and 8th grade. And I can tell you, when I would have open house at the beginning of the school year, my algebra honors and geometry honors parents, I'd have 25 kids per class. I'd have 23 out of 25 that would show up. And the 2 parents that didn't show up would call me or email me and say, hey, I'm working, I can't make it, is there anything I can do, etc. You go to my standard pre-algebra class or algebra class, I'd have 2 out of 25 show up. So when we look at parental involvement, it kind of is just not one specific thing, but doggone it, if that happens, kids can learn. And you cannot, my philosophy is this, one child cannot disrupt others from learning. It can't happen. So we have to have that part first. We have to have the administration be able to do their job and discipline. The teachers then can do what they need to do. And then, as Cynthia said, they can do the other things of bringing in great ideas from other teachers, observing other teachers. Those things will all come when you have a structure and a discipline in place in the classroom.
Thank you. I wish I could say that there was only one thing that the district is facing now, but there aren't. There are multiple issues. I'll key in on 3 of those issues, and if you want to know more, just see me afterward. I don't mind. One of those issues, of course, is discipline, which you have heard time and time again. We need to get the discipline under control. The bullying issues that are happening at the schools is out of control. We need to be able to support students in a very unique way so that those who are bullies become leaders in the school, so we can turn this bullying thing around and support teachers in the classroom. The other thing that I would say, obviously, is the academics, right? So we had recently celebration that you may have heard the superintendent celebrate our most recent scores from the FSA that came in, the Florida State Assessment. Many of those are really celebrating the raise in ranking for our district. But quite honestly, as great as that is, that we are raising in ranking, that really doesn't affect the classroom level. So my issue is what happens in the classroom is more important than how we are ranking in the state across, in comparison with other districts. In the classroom, we have, from last year to pre-pandemic, we have decreased 2 percentage points in our English language arts. In the classroom, we have decreased 2 percentage points in math, overall math, this is overall, in the district since pre-pandemic till now. In our science, we have decreased 3 percentage points. In social studies, we have stayed the same, and with middle school acceleration, we have increased 16%. So with math, ELA, and science, we're not making the improvements that we need to make with our students in the classroom. So state rankings are wonderful, but they don't mean anything unless they truly affect the children in the classroom. So that, to me, is a priority. I didn't get to the third one, but.
Then Ms. Ford.
So the greatest issue that I see in the school system is how do we bring back the focus to education? How do we close the achievement gaps? And how do we break the barriers that our children are facing every day within the school system? I hear a lot about discipline. So we have to be able to bring awareness, mental health awareness, into the classrooms and have parental support and permission to be able to address issues and concerns that our children may be facing every single day within the school system. Discipline starts from a behavior. So if we have to discipline a behavior, the behavior starts from somewhere, and those are barriers. How can we break those barriers to bring the focus back to education and to achieve all the gaps that we have within our educational system? We have a long way to go. We can do it, but we have to figure out ways to bring the focus back to education, closing the achievement gaps, and recognizing signs and symptoms of barriers and traumas dealing with our children in the school system today.
I think we go to Mr. Kenny.
To me, it's all about parental rights. One of the things that's been happening is that we just heard about mental health. We've heard about scores that are basically average. We've seen some rankings go up. That means the state is hanging out at average. We're probably all moving 2 points in the wrong direction. We just happen to move a little slower than some of the other counties. You know, I don't believe in looking at rankings, quite honestly, when you're talking about stuff like this. I just believe about looking at ourselves and saying, what can we do? The other side of this is there's a lot of outside factors coming in because the school system has a $327 million budget. The climate committee got turned into a mental health committee. And there was a question from the school board after their presentation back over a month ago. So where's your research? And the response from the head was, it's on, well, we have 15 people on here that wrote down the top 3 issues that we think we should have, and everyone voted for mental health. That's not research. Now there is some national research, but we're talking about local research. We're talking about us. Do we do something because the country's saying this and the CDC says that? No, we do it because Indian River County has a need in its school system to be fulfilled. And so I look at all this stuff very differently. I'm a citizen representative. That's why the parents are coming going, what about my rights? What about this issue? The book issue, if we go back to it, was brought up by a parent and a school board member. Okay? And it became important. And most of the times that's the way it is. And so I'm looking to defend the school system so it can stay focused on education.
It was one,
2 minutes.
no, the question again was one,
The greatest single issue.
I was trying to figure that out, okay. All right, so the single issue that I would choose would be high quality instruction in the classroom. And the reason why is because, again, like I've said, we have to support teachers to do the best job they can do in that classroom. And that, I've been a principal of an F school. I have an IQ in Fort Pierce. And I walked into a school that was out of control. We had discipline issues like I've never witnessed in my life. I had lots of problems with gangs and things like that. But I'm going to tell you, we turned it around with relationships. It's building relationships, supporting my teachers. Talk about discipline, yes. Supporting my teacher. When my teacher says, I got this issue I need to deal with, go in there and find out what truly is the problem. Get to the root of the problem, because sometimes the teacher doesn't know what the root of the problem is with the child because they have a room full of kids that they're trying to teach. So we have to support high quality instruction in the classroom. And as far as the state rankings go, we just went through a pandemic for 2 years. So a lot of districts dealt with slides big time. And they're trying to make up from those 2 years of loss of instructions. Are we where we want to be? Absolutely not. But we fared pretty well. And that's why it's important to rank ourselves to say, hey, what is the goal? What is it that we have to do in order to be successful? Yes, look at ourselves. Are we happy with where we are? Absolutely not. We need to improve. We need to be the best for our kids, and they deserve the best every single day. And the only way they're going to get the best is if we have best teachers in front of them and they're able to teach in the classroom. And we have to support them as parents As administrators, as school board members, they have to be supported. That's what it comes down to. A teacher in front of a student is the best instruction they can get. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the wrap-up now. Before we do, I just want a quick comment. As a four-time candidate myself, I can tell you that running a campaign is a grind. Okay, you're putting yourself out there to the public. You can't control what goes on social media. Fortunately, I have thick skin so I can handle it, but a lot of times it's the spouses of the candidates that are really affected by all the negativity and stuff. I know my wife was greatly affected. And so those of you who have been so good being quiet, why don't we just give a big round of applause for all of the candidates. It takes a lot, trust me, for a countywide race as well. It is a grind. So thank you all for stepping up to participate and be part of the public service. You all should, win or lose in August, you all should be commended for what you've done. I want to thank the audience. You were really great. I really appreciate everybody being attentive and paying attention and letting the candidates, speak their words so we could hear them. And everybody, I think, got a really good understanding of the candidates. So thank you to the audience for your quietness and politeness. And then to the candidates themselves, I want to say thank you for focusing on yourself, on your qualifications, on your beliefs. I thought everybody did a very good job of focusing on what they want to do or what they perceive as issues and what they would like to do. So candidates, I think you did a very good job yourselves as well. So thank you for that. You have 2 minutes for a wrap-up. I'm going to start here with District 4. Now remember, folks, this is the easy choice. You're going to pick one of the two in August 23rd. And hopefully we won't have an exact dead heat tie. And I can tell you, I'm on the canvassing board, which means I have to certify the election. And the last thing I really want to deal with is a dead heat tie. So let's, hopefully we'll get a 50% plus one. But Ms. Berenberg, you started with the open, so Mr. Kenny, you will open with your closing remarks, and you have 2 minutes, sir.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
I'm Thomas Kenny, School Board District 4 candidate. I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you, Peter Bryan. Thank you very much. This has been really fun. I'm a parental rights person first. I think it's an inalienable right. As a school district, if there is neglect in the home or child abuse, we have to report it by law. But parents are very important to me. The parent-student-teacher relationship, most important thing. I got in this race because parents invited me to do this. I feel like I'm a citizen first. The structure of our authority is the citizens elect the board oversees the superintendent is sort of the CEO of the school system, runs the day-to-day operations. We recently had a guide that was produced that should have been adopted by the board first, because it's important to have these things done that way. Transparency is important. When citizens come to a board meeting and they speak, they are participating in government, because that gavel goes down and their voice is recorded in eternity for our government. And that is so important to me. There was a thing put forward back last year to take that away. Everyone said, well, they'll have their First Amendment rights, but they would lose their participation because it would have been outside the gavel. And thank God the citizens rose up and took care of business and put a squash on that. That's important. And that's who I want to be, is someone who just defends the school system for you. Thank you.
First of all, I wouldn't vote for that because I represent taxpayers. I don't represent the superintendent. And I certainly want to hear, and believe me, over the last 3 years during a pandemic, I heard a lot. I heard both sides of the mask issue. I heard both sides of vaccination issue, both sides of the book issue. There are a lot of very extreme issues that have come before this board, and it's been tough. It's been tough. I call the DOE, I call the governor's office, and I say, what is it that you recommend? What is the statute in place right now? What is the mandate in place right now? That's my job, to know what the law is. And then when people call and say, why did this happen? I'll have an answer, or I'll get an answer for them. When parents call and say, I have a concern about something that happened in the classroom, I get on that phone and that superintendent picks up my call. I didn't have that in the previous superintendent. I'm going to tell you, that did not happen my first year. It was very frustrating for me. The last 2 years, it's been much better. And he has taken care of some issues. When a parent brings it up, it's taken care of pretty quickly. And if it's not, as board members, we need to know. Don't fester on it. That's our job. Our job is to call people back. Our job is to listen. Our job is to do the best job we can by reading everything that's put in front of us and making the best decision we can. Will you agree with every decision we make? Absolutely not. Because this community can be so polarized at times. But know that we're trying to make the best decision we can with the information we've got. But my number one thing, when I always think about it, whenever I vote, it's not about all this other stuff. It's about the kids. And that's the focus. That needs to be back on kids. And it needs to be about their education and their well-being. Not about adults or politics. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the easy district, District 4. When you come to vote, you'll vote for Ms. Berenborg or Mr. Kenny, and you're done with there. Now, the full House District 2 candidates. And again, as I mentioned earlier, there is a possibility for a runoff. So you might want to have a first, second, and third choice here. So you really have to pay attention and kind of sort them out in your mind. Because August 23rd, you'll get to vote for one of them, but there may be a second vote in November. So with that, we start with Ms. Rosario for the wrap-up, and you have 2 minutes.
This is going to be an easy one because you're all going to re-elect me, Jackie Rosario, as your school board for District 2. What I failed to tell you in the introduction was my educational background. So I have a bachelor's degree in social science and ESOL, which is English as a second language. I have a master's degree in special education with a concentration in deaf education. I have a master's in school supervision administration and a master's in divinity. So my educational background, I began my teaching career in 1992, so it's almost 30 years that I have loved all things education. I will tell you that the work on the school board, the work to be a school board member for you all, to be the voice of the constituents, of the citizens of Indian River County, is very, very important. I don't take that position lightly. So I will also tell you that in 2018, I thought I knew the role of a school board member, but I was grossly wrong. And it wasn't until the pandemic that I understood the gravity and the importance of the decisions that a school board member makes that affect the lives of children in our county and affect their parents and their families. And it is critical to be able to have a school board member who is not going to rubber stamp everything that comes before them, everything that is recommended from the superintendent. Though they might be good, we have to do our research and we have to be able to follow the law. So there are certain tenets that I am 100% in favor for. Number 1 is parental rights. Number 2 is common sense decision making. Number 3 is following the law. Number 4, I am not in favor of critical race theory, and I am not in favor of anything that is divisive. Anything that is going to come into our school district that will divide one race against another, I am not in favor of. I am also not in favor of mandatory masking. I am in favor of 100% for the citizens to make the decision, and I hope that you all pray for me, that you all vote for me, re-elect me, Jackie Rosario, on August 23rd. Thank you.
My name is Josh Post. I'm running for school board seat District 2. I ask for your vote on August 23rd and again in November. I will tell you from a parent perspective and a teacher perspective, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in our district. I'm going to give you an example. This is a true example, happened this week. I still work with students on SAT prep, ACT prep, geometry, algebra, calculus, pre-calculus. I still work with lots of students and parents. And I had a student that came to me, and the end of course exams just got done. They just got their grades, the scores this past week. And this young lady came to me, her mom called me, and she said, my daughter had an A every 9 weeks for the 9 weeks. And guess what her score was on the end of course exam? A 1. That's despicable. That means rubber stamp. Don't cause any issues past these kids. That's what that is. That's one example, folks. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your children if you're a grandparent and your grandchildren. I would encourage you to look beyond what is being spoken about on social media and all this stuff. Look, statistics lie until you do the depth. And I'm going to tell you something. We've got a serious problem. When you get a level 3, that could mean that you would pass with a 52%. Here's what I was told one time. Everybody should take algebra in 8th grade. I pushed back. No, they shouldn't. I was told, I said, I'll get them to pass. I can get them to a 3 because I'm a good teacher. And then I said, but my concern is they don't really know the material. And this is what was told to me. That's not our problem, Josh. That's the high school's problem. Vote for me on August 23rd, and I will make sure to do the best job that I can for you.
I'm Cindy Gibbs, also for District 2 School Board, and I would also appreciate your vote on August 23rd. I believe in parental rights insofar as they don't supersede anybody else's parental rights. I'm a parent, I have children in the school, and I don't want other children's parents making decisions for mine. I think that what we need to think about as an informed electorate is that you're not going to choose the person who thinks exactly the way you do. Because that's never going to be all across the board. When we invest in public education, because it's based on society, it should reflect the society in which we live, then we need to make sure that we have the best problem solvers, the best critical thinkers in place to make decisions for when things are tough, so that we're making the best decision for the whole society, everybody involved, not just the people we like. So again, I invite you to find out more about me, gibbsforschools.com. I'm on social media. I promise it's all appropriate, so you can look at it with your children. Cindy Gibbs for School Board, District 2. Thanks for your time tonight. I appreciate you came out for all of us.
You're doing really good. Just one more speaker.
So my name again is LaDonna Corbin. I am not a politician. I am a mother of 8 children. The investment that I have is for all children to be represented in the school system. We have to find a way to redesign our school system and focus on education and the embetterment of all of our children, not some of our children. So, I'll make this simple for you. Tell a friend to vote LaDonna Corbin. Thank you.
All right, let's give all the candidates. You all really did do a great job. You should all be proud of putting yourselves out here tonight. Audience, there is printed material up on these front tables. The candidates have brought, so if you need additional information, please. They would love it if you grabbed some and took it home. And again, I would express my thanks to you as the audience for being so attentive and kind of sticking with my request so we could have this really nice debate and all the candidates got to be heard. And so I think that's really important. So your job now is to go out to vote on August 23rd. And thank you for coming out and have a great evening. Thank you.